Hey guys, Dr. Kyle Loveless here with Queen City Health Center. Again, my wife, Dr. Hala, and I have a clinic in Matthews and in the South Park area here in Charlotte. And hey guys, I'm going to come to you today and talk to you about sciatic nerve issues, which goes along with low back problems typically. And I want to talk to you about that at number one, what is the typical cause? And number two is what do you do about it? What are some top 3 things you can do at home? And then what do you need to do at a professional level, maybe seeing a professional about it to get it taken care of. So first things first, let's talk about the sciatic nerve so you understand what the heck I'm talking about. Most people, if they have a leg problem and they come into our clinic, they say I have a sciatic problem. Not always the same. So I want to teach you what the sciatic nerve is first, okay? So I got my poster here, my trusty nervous system poster, and this is ultimately all the peripheral nerves. This is a peripheral nervous system, meaning all the nerves that go out to your muscles in the body, the arms, the legs, the back muscles, the neck, all that area. So when you look at the sciatic nerve, that's this area starting right here and here. You can see it's multiple roots that come into one big trunk that goes all the way down the leg. Okay, and that's why so many times any leg problem, people would say it's a sciatic nerve issue, but typically that sciatic nerve issue is going to be down the leg, in the back of the leg. Sometimes it can start here up. Sometimes it'll just be pain here. Sometimes it'll just be pain up here. If it's bad enough, you're getting that whole baby all the way through, and it's rough. It's a really painful issue to deal with. So that's the sciatic nerve issue, and you can see it comes right out of the spine in the lower 2-3 vertebrae. Very, very important area, because this is the number one, believe it or not, this is the number one area. So I'm gonna set this down for a second. But that low back, that last 3 vertebrae, those are the top areas where we see disc herniations, and majority of spinal surgeries happen at that part of the spine. And it makes sense because all the upper body weight, I mean, that's really can go into that area of the spine. Everything above it goes into it. But a good, healthy spine is gonna allow weight to distribute properly throughout your entire body. Meaning it's not going to go all into that lower part of your back. So if you look at the spine here, okay, from the side, you want to have a certain amount of curvature. And you can see this area right in here is where the sciatic nerves come from. Okay, they come out and they go down like you saw in that picture. Now these bones, when you have a good curve in your back, a good curve in your mid-back, a good curve in your neck, like this, that allows the weight to go evenly throughout all these joints right here. And that weight isn't necessarily fully distributing just into here. What happens in our daily activities, from sitting so much, to car accidents, to injuries, to falls, sports injuries, repetitive activities, if you're doing the same lifting movement over and over again, mostly though sitting is the biggest one, is you lose these curves, and this spine doesn't move as well as it should, but if you lose the curve in your neck, here's a great example. So you lose this curve in your neck, so you're gonna be like this. If that upper part of your neck's not moving properly, your body wants to see, your eyes still want to see straight, so you're going to do this. Okay, I see this all the time. One of the most common things that will happen is people come with too much curve in their back, and you can see how it jams those joints. It can create inflammation, can lead to back pain, but can also affect those and inflame those sciatic nerves. That's one area. The other thing that will happen is the opposite, where from sitting so much, you lose the curve in your back, and you can see as it pushes, as the weight distributes into here, and all that upper body weight now is going into here, that's a fluid disc. That disc can only take so much pressure so eventually those ligaments tear. Now I'll tell you this is a very strong structure. So the disc issues happen after tons of repetitive activities or a major, major accident. They don't just happen from picking up a pen, even though it seems like that might have been the case. A disc problem that hits that sciatic nerve is going to be something that took years to develop, or maybe one big, big trauma, okay? So again, if you look, that's a disc. That's an example right here of a herniated disc where it actually comes out and hits those nerves, okay? The other thing that will happen, and this is one of the major things that will happen in cause sciatic nerve issues that aren't as bad as a disc problem, okay? So the first thing is you can get a disc issue or actually inflammation on the nerve directly out of the nerve root. The other is when your pelvis rotates. So you can see the pelvis should be nice and even here. Hope you can see all this. I know it's kind of hard with this thing in my face and everything, but your pelvis should be even. What happens through sports, it's like soccer players, for example, will have a shifted pelvis like this. It's hard to do with this model here. Or baseball players will have a shifted pelvis if you sit with your legs crossed all the time. But what will happen is the pelvic bone will rotate. One will go forward, one will go backwards. And when it does that, it twists these joints, it also inflames these muscles and ligaments, and in return can affect the sciatic nerve coming through here, whether it's directly from the muscle or whether it's coming from the spine. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that gives you an idea of why sciatic nerve issues happen. They typically happen when your pelvis rotates, when you don't have enough curve in your back, or when you have too much curve in your back, and that stays there long enough to create an inflammatory process, a stress response, in return affecting the sciatic nerve. What you feel first is typically a little bit of low back, butt pain, sometimes in the butt first. Maybe it'll go into the hamstring, down the back of the knee, around the leg, all the way to the feet. That's going to be your sciatic nerve, okay? So if you've experienced that before, I'm talking to you, okay? I've had it before. I used to have it in soccer, and that's one of the reasons I went to a chiropractor in the first place. I had back problems, also had sciatic nerve issues with it from so much kicking, right? Soccer players are constantly kicking, and it rotates the pelvis. Almost every athlete is going to have some sort of a pelvic issue, typically because there's so much repetitive activities in sports that it will train the muscles to hold you in that position. If you're someone that sits a lot, typically you're gonna have a pelvic tilt, which will cause you too much arching in your lower back. Your head typically is forward from sitting on computers all the time, so you're doing this, okay? And you can look in the mirror and see if that's you, but that jams those lower joints, and in return can lead to sciatic nerve issues or just back pain in general. So we know that the sciatic nerve stems from the lower back or pelvic rotation. It's the number one way to have it. People tell you it's from piriformis tightness and all that. It can be, but here's the deal. Your piriformis doesn't just get tight. Now, if you work out and overuse it, it can get a little inflamed and tight, but that's going to slowly work its way out on its own. It's going to be when the pelvis rotates that it stretches one piriformis more than the other, because those are all the muscles within there. And then that's happening. So the core problem typically is going to happen at the spinal level or the pelvic level. Okay, so your first step in helping with it, number one, a great stretch, and this is if it doesn't cause pain, a great stretch is your piriformis stretch. Now, I'm not going to show you all these different stretches here. What I will tell you is this: just go to YouTube and Google piriformis stretch. They'll give you a million different ways of stretching it. The second stretch, which I believe everyone should be doing on a daily basis throughout their day because we sit so much, is your hip flexor stretches. Okay, all the muscles that come through here into the pelvis, they cause you, when they get tight from sitting, they cause your pelvis to get stuck in this tilting position. Ultimately, stretching those releases that pelvis, okay? The other one is abdominal strengthening, specifically planks. Planks are amazing for strengthening the lower abdomen, which blocks or helps keep you from getting too much pelvic tilting. So strengthening your lower abdomen is huge, and then strengthening your hip extensors is very important as well. So these are the ones back in the back here. So your hip extensors, again, you can YouTube strengthen hip extensors, and it'll take you through a whole protocol on YouTube how to strengthen your hip extensors. We live in a really cool age. I don't have to teach you everything. The cool news is there's so much stuff out there now. But yeah, so to strengthen your hip extensors, strengthen your lower abdomen, I recommend the planks. And if you can't do them with your normal, then go onto your knees. But planks are really great. I would do those every single day. Work your way up to 2 to 3 minutes at a time. It can be very good for strengthening your core. And then the next thing is looking at your posture. Looking at your ergonomics, which is creating bad posture. So if you're on a computer all day like this, we need to get your screen up, right? Screen up like this, eye level. If you have a laptop, put some books under it, get an external keyboard, and bring that keyboard closer to you to where you're not stuck in this position like this, okay? Get nice and level and relaxed. And so you're sitting in that position. Then the next step is don't sit all day long. If your job is sitting all day, then do something about that. And I'm not saying quit, but I would do something about it, meaning don't just sit. Anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes at a time is over sitting. We're meant to be moving people. We're not meant to be sitting. So getting up and stretching, do your rotations, go all the way down to the ground, all the way back, all the way to your side, all the way down, and just get those full range of motion into your hips. You can also buy a wobble cushion. You can go online, just push balance cushion on Amazon, order you a balance cushion, air it up enough, and you can sit on it and move while you work. So what's that? It makes me think of the Doors, like hustle while you work or whatever that's, whistle while you work. Anyways, so yeah, I'm goofy. Anyways, sit on that wobble chair, go side to side, front to back, all those things while you're working. That makes a big difference. And then the other one you can do is, I call it the wall angel. You stand against the wall like this, get everything, including your butt, your heels, your back, your neck, your head. The only thing it's not touching is the lower of your back, like this. And you hold that for 3 to 4 minutes, and that will actually get you back into this position. The cool part about that is when you reduce your forward head posture, right? And you get your neck moving properly, boom, your back no longer does this. So your head comes back instead of using your lower back to see straight. That one's a big one, okay? And then also when you're driving, recognize how you're sitting. I see a lot of people doing this, and what it does is it creates this. Where you're putting all that weight into your lower back, eventually it'll cause a disc issue. So set back upright and work on changing that. The final one, and this is across the board, this is the professional level, is go to a chiropractor. Chiropractic is set for making sure your spine is moving properly. When we move the lower back, it gets pressure and irritation off the sciatic nerve. We also work to retrain the muscular system, so that pelvic rotation you have, we can unrotate it by retraining the body and getting the spine moving. Physical therapy is fine, but it's only a part of the thing that you should do. And you might get mad at me if you're in physical therapy, but the truth of the matter is it isn't a muscle issue. It's the muscle responds to what's happening in the rest of the body. So by breaking up scar tissue, by adjusting the spine, which we do in chiropractic as well, and by retraining the muscles, a 3-part process: breaking up the scar tissue that's built up, adjusting and moving the spine, and retraining the muscular system back to where it should be from there, and then changing your ergonomics, which are the things I just taught you. Doing those things are a sure way to help yourself with sciatic nerve issues. If it's so severe, you have a major disc problem, stenosis, bone spurring into that area, then it's going to be more advanced, and that's particular to the individual. So it's hard for me to say on this video, but things like spinal decompression can be amazing. I've had patients come in where I look at their MRIs and I just think there's no way. We get them on a spinal decompression program. We do specific adjustments, get them doing some exercises at home. We're not getting rid of the bone spurring and things like that, but we are getting enough pressure off that nerve so they can have a better quality of life. And these are people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s that we've been able to help with that. So again, that's the key. First, you got to figure out what the cause is. Second, we have to start working to retrain the body and get the spine moving again. And then third, you have to maintain that. All right, you guys have an awesome day. That's sciatic nerve issues. Hey, if you're having sciatic nerve problems or low back issues, visit us at QueenCityHealthCenter.com. You can schedule an appointment time for our South Park clinic or our Matthews office. You can see myself or my wife, Dr. Holly, and we'll connect with you and make sure we figure out what's causing your problem and get you a good action plan. You guys have an awesome day.